Hyeon Woo Kim stood at the entrance of Vorthen Prime Academy and looked up at the massive crystal towers that reached toward the purple sky. The buildings looked like they were made of living light, shifting colors as clouds passed overhead. He had never seen anything like it on Earth. "First day nerves?" asked Bora Lee, walking up beside him with her own luggage. She was one of only 12 humans accepted into the galaxy's most famous school. Her specialty was studying stars and space, while Hyeon Woo wanted to learn about alien life forms. "Something like that," Hyeon Woo replied, adjusting his backpack. The gravity here was lighter than Earth's, making him feel like he might float away if he moved too quickly. "I just hope I don't mess this up," Bora laughed. "We're the first humans they've ever accepted. I think they expect us to be a little different." They walked through the main entrance together. The hallways were huge, designed for species much larger than humans. Students of all kinds moved past them, some floating, some walking on multiple legs, others sliding along the smooth floors. Hyeon Woo tried not to stare, but it was hard. He had studied alien species for years, but seeing them in person was completely different. A tall, bird-like student with bright blue feathers stopped near them. "You must be the new humans," he said in perfect English, though his voice had a musical quality. "I am Tae-min Choi. I study advanced mathematics and logic systems." "Nice to meet you," Hyeon Woo said, offering his hand. Tae-min looked at it strangely, before shaking it with one of his wing hands. "Such an odd greeting custom," Tae-min said, not unkindly. "Tell me, is it true that your species comes from what the professors call a death world?" Hyeon Woo felt his smile become forced. This was the question he had been dreading. "Earth has some dangerous animals and weather, but we've learned to deal with it." "Fascinating," Tae-min said, tilting his head. "My home world has no predators larger than my hand. I cannot imagine living with constant threats." Before Hyeon Woo could respond, another student approached. This one looked like a mix between a dolphin and a person, with smooth blue-gray skin and large, dark eyes. "Please excuse Tae-min," she said in a gentle voice. "He means well, but he can be very direct. I am Jin-ae Yoon." "It's okay," Hyeon Woo said, grateful for her kindness. "I'm Hyeon Woo Kim. I study emotional patterns and social behavior," Jin-ae explained. "Your species is very interesting to me. You show such complex feelings, even in how you stand and move." Hyeon Woo wasn't sure how to take that comment, so he just nodded. A few minutes later, he said goodbye to the others and went to find his room. His roommate was already there when he arrived. Dae-ho Park was unpacking his things, muttering complaints about the strange furniture. Everything was designed for different body types, making it hard for humans to use comfortably. Finally, another human, Dae-ho said with relief. "I was starting to think I'd have to room with someone who breathes methane or something worse." Hyeon Woo laughed. "What are you studying?" "Here, engineering. Building things that work for different species is harder than you'd think." Dae-ho held up a chair that was clearly made for someone with 4 legs. "Like this. How are we supposed to sit on this?" They spent the evening trying to make their room more comfortable and talking about their homes on Earth. It felt good to speak Korean with someone who understood not just the words, but the culture behind them. The next morning, Hyeon Woo had his first class, Advanced Predator Psychology. He had been looking forward to this class for months. Professor Vel Turan was famous throughout the galaxy for her research on hunting behavior and survival instincts. The classroom was arranged like an amphitheater, with seats going up in circles around a central area. Hyeon Woo found a seat near the middle, trying to blend in with the other students. Most of them were herbivores, plant-eaters, or gentle omnivores. He was probably the only one from a species that had ever hunted for survival. Professor Velteron entered the room like a living crystal sculpture. Her body was made of what looked like clear stone, with light moving through it in patterns. When she spoke, her voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Welcome to Advanced Predator Psychology," she said, her light patterns shifting to a warm gold color. "This semester, we will study the most dangerous hunters in the galaxy. We will learn how they think, how they hunt, and most importantly, how prey species can survive them." She looked around the room, her crystalline eyes pausing on each student. When she looked at Haiyan Wu, he felt like she was seeing right through him. "Many of you come from peaceful worlds," the professor continued. "You have never faced a true predator. This class will challenge everything you think you know about survival." Tae Min raised one of his wings. "Professor, what about the human?" "Student, his species evolved alongside predators, didn't they?" All eyes turned to Haiyan Wu. He felt his face grow warm. "Yes, Earth has large predators, but humans learn to avoid them or work together to drive them away." Professor Velteran's light patterns shifted to an interested blue. "Interesting. Tell me, Mr. Kim, has your species ever been prey?" A question hit Haiyan Wu like a physical blow. Images flashed through his mind. Ancient humans hiding from saber-toothed cats, running from cave bears, using fire and tools to fight off wolves. But also other images. Humans tracking wounded deer for days, surrounding mammoths in groups, persistence hunting until their prey collapsed from exhaustion. "Yes," he said carefully. "Sometimes." "And have you ever been predators?" The classroom went completely silent. Haiyan Wu could feel everyone watching him, waiting for his answer. He thought about lying, about making humans sound more peaceful than they were. But something in the professor's crystalline gaze told him she would know. "Yes," he said quietly. "Sometimes we were predators too." The professor's lights shifted to a bright, excited white. "Excellent. This will make our studies much more interesting. Next week, I will be bringing in a live specimen for observation. A real predator from a high-gravity world. It will be perfectly safe, of course, contained behind energy barriers." As the class ended and students filed out, Haiyan Wu noticed how many of them gave him strange looks. Jin-A paused beside his seat. Her heart rate increased when she asked. "About being predators," she said softly. Your pupils dilated slightly and your breathing changed. "These are not normal stress responses." "I'm fine," Haiyan Wu said, gathering his things quickly. "I'm not judging you," Jin-A said gently. "I'm just curious. Your species is more complex than our textbooks suggested." That night, Haiyan Wu lay in his strange bed, staring at the alien stars through his window. Dae-ho was already asleep, but Haiyan Wu's mind was racing. He had come here to study alien life, to learn about the galaxy's creatures. He hadn't expected to become the creature being studied. He thought about Professor Velteran's questions and Jin-A's observations. They were starting to see something in him, something he had always tried to keep hidden. Back on Earth, humans were at the top of the food chain. Here, surrounded by species that had never known real hunger or the fear of being hunted, he felt like a wolf among sheep. The worst part was how right it felt. How natural it seemed to notice which students moved too slowly, which ones would be easy to catch if they ran. These thoughts scared him, but he couldn't make them stop. Tomorrow, he would meet a real alien predator. He wondered what it would see when it looked at him. The week passed slowly for Haiyan Wu. Other students had started treating him differently after Professor Velteran's questions about humans being predators. They weren't mean, but they kept their distance. In the cafeteria, seats emptied when he sat down. In study groups, conversations stopped when he joined. "They're afraid of you," Dae-ho said one evening as they walked back to their room. I can see it in how they move when you're around. I haven't done anything wrong, Haiyan Wu protested. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be human. Dao shook his head. Most of these species never had to fight for survival. They evolved from animals that ate plants or small bugs. We evolved from apes that had to fight off lions and tigers. Haiyan Wu knew his roommate was right, but it still hurt. He had dreamed of making friends with alien students, of learning about their cultures. Instead, he felt like a monster in disguise. The day of Professor Valteran's live demonstration finally arrived. Haiyan Wu entered the classroom to find it completely changed. The seats had been moved back, creating a large open space in the center. Thick energy barriers hummed around this space, creating a cage-like area that glowed with blue light. Jin A was already there, sitting in the front row. She waved at Haiyan Wu, one of the few students who still treated him normally. He sat next to her, grateful for the friendly gesture. "Are you nervous about seeing a real predator?" she asked. "A little," Haiyan Wu admitted. "What about you?" "Very nervous," Jin-A said, her large eyes wide with worry. "My species has never seen anything more dangerous than a small fish. This creature they're bringing. I've read about Catherian stalkers. They're apex predators from a world with 3 times Earth's gravity." More students filed in, including Tae Min, who chose a seat several rows behind Haiyan Wu. Another human student, Wu Jin Lim, sat near the back. He studied psychology and had been taking notes on how alien students reacted to the human exchange. Students. Professor Valteran entered through a side door, her crystal body pulsing with excited yellow light. Behind her came 2 security guards and a large metal container that floated on anti-gravity platforms. "Today, you will observe a true predator in action," the professor announced. "The Catherian stalker is one of the most efficient hunters in the known galaxy. It can track prey across continents, survive without food for months, and kill creatures 10 times its size." The container was moved into the center of the energy barrier cage. Haiyan Wu could see something large and dark moving inside through the small windows. "The barriers are completely safe," Professor Valteran continued. "They have been tested against creatures much stronger than our specimen. You may observe its behavior without any risk." She pressed a control pad, and the container opened with a hiss of escaping gas. What came out made several students gasp in fear. The Catherian stalker looked like a cross between a big cat and a crocodile, but larger than both. Its body was covered in dark scales that seemed to absorb light. It had 6 powerful legs ending in claws the size of kitchen knives. Its head was long and narrow, with rows of sharp teeth and eyes that glowed like yellow fire. The creature immediately began exploring its cage, moving with liquid grace despite its size. It tested the energy barriers with its claws, sniffed the air, and examined every corner of its prison. "Notice how it maps its territory first," Professor Valteran said. "This is typical predator behavior. They must understand their environment before they hunt." The stalker suddenly stopped moving and lifted its head. It was looking directly at the students, its glowing eyes scanning the crowd. When its gaze passed over most students, they shrank back in their seats. Even Tae Min, who usually acted superior to everyone, was pressed against the back of his chair. But when the stalker's eyes met Haiyan Wu's, something strange happened. The creature tilted its head, like a dog hearing an interesting sound. It took a step closer to the barrier, still staring at Haiyan Wu. "Fascinating," Professor Valteran murmured, her lights shifting to bright blue. "It seems to have identified someone in the audience as particularly interesting." Haiyan Wu felt his heart rate increase, but not from fear. Something deep in his brain was responding to the predator's gaze. Ancient instincts that his ancestors had used to survive were waking up. His muscles tensed slightly, His breathing became more controlled, and his senses seemed sharper. Jin-A noticed the change immediately. Hyun-woo? Your body language just shifted completely. Before he could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the building. Red lights flashed on the walls, and an automated voice announced, "Energy grid failure in Classroom 7. All students evacuate immediately." The energy barriers around the stalker's cage flickered and went out. For a moment, everyone froze. The Catherian stalker stood perfectly still, as if it couldn't believe its good fortune. Then it smiled, showing rows of teeth designed for ripping flesh. Chaos erupted in the classroom. Students screamed and ran for the exits, pushing and shoving each other in their panic. Taemin's bird-like species had a natural flight response. That made him leap toward the ceiling in terror. Jin-A's aquatic instincts made her try to hide under her seat, as if she were diving for cover in deep water. The stalker watched the panicking students with the patience of a master hunter. It didn't chase the fleeing crowd immediately. Instead, it waited, letting them exhaust themselves in fear before making its move. Professor Valteran was shouting into her communication device, calling for security and emergency containment teams. The two guards who had brought the creature were trying to set up portable barriers, but their hands were shaking too badly to work the controls properly. Through all of this chaos, Hyun-woo remained seated. He watched the stalker with calm, steady eyes, his body completely still except for his breathing. Something had changed in his posture. He sat straighter, his shoulders broader, his hands relaxed but ready. The stalker noticed. While other students ran screaming or cowered in fear, this one strange creature sat like a statue. The predator's glowing eyes fixed on Hyun-woo again, and it began moving slowly toward him. "Hyun-woo, we need to run," Jin-A whispered urgently. She was still crouched under her seat, her entire body trembling. "No," Hyun-woo said quietly, never taking his eyes off the approaching predator. "Running triggers its hunting instinct." "Stay still." The stalker reached the edge of where the barrier had been and paused. It was now less than 10 feet from the front row of seats. This close, Hyun-woo could see every detail of its alien anatomy. The way its muscles moved under its scales, how its nostrils flared as it scented the air, the intelligence behind its glowing eyes. Most of the other students had either fled the room or were pressed against the far walls, whimpering in terror. But Hyun-woo leaned forward slightly, his own eyes reflecting a strange intensity that Jin-A had never seen before. The stalker took another step forward, then stopped. Its head tilted again, and a low rumbling sound came from its throat. Not a growl of aggression, but something else. Something that sounded almost like confusion. "What's happening?" Wu Jin called from the back of the room, where he was pressed against the exit door with several other students. Professor Valteran had stopped shouting into her communicator and was watching the scene with fascination. Her crystal body pulsed. With rapid, excited patterns of light, the stalker lowered its head slightly, still staring at Hyun-woo. The rumbling sound continued, but it was changing, becoming less threatening and more curious. Hyun-woo felt something ancient stirring in his chest. His ancestors had faced creatures like this before, in the dark forests and open plains of prehistoric Earth. They had learned that sometimes survival meant more than just running or hiding. Sometimes it meant looking a predator in the eye. And showing no fear. Very slowly, Hyun-woo stood up. Jin-A made a small sound of terror, but he ignored her. The stalker's eyes followed his movement, but it didn't attack. Instead, it seemed to be studying him, trying to understand what kind of creature could remain so calm in the face of death. Security teams were thundering down the hallways outside, their heavy footsteps echoing through the building. But inside, Classroom 7, Predator and human regarded each other in perfect silence. Two apex species recognizing something familiar in each other's eyes. The stalker took one more step forward, bringing it within arm's reach of Haiyan Wu. Every other student in the room held their breath, certain they were about to witness something terrible. But instead of attacking, the great predator did something that would haunt the dreams of everyone present for years to come. It lowered its head in what could only be described as a gesture of respect. The Catherian stalker held its position with its head lowered, waiting. Haiyan Wu felt every instinct in his body screaming different messages. Part of him wanted to run like the other students. Another part wanted to back away slowly. But the strongest part, the part that came from millions of years of human evolution, told him to hold his ground. He looked directly into the creature's glowing yellow eyes. Up close, he could see they weren't just simple animal eyes. There was intelligence. There, ancient and alien, but intelligence nonetheless. The stalker was thinking, measuring, deciding. "Nobody move," Haiyan Wu said quietly, his voice carrying clearly through the silent classroom. "Don't run. Don't make sudden movements." Jin-A was still crouched under her seat, her large dark eyes wide with terror. "Haiyan Wu, please step back slowly," she whispered. "No," he replied, still maintaining eye contact with the predator. "It's not hunting right now. It's trying to understand something." Professor Velteran had stopped calling for security and was watching with professional fascination. Her crystal body pulsed with rapid blue and white patterns, the colors of intense curiosity and excitement. The stalker raised its head again and took another step closer. Now it was close enough that Haiyan Wu could feel the heat radiating from its scaled body. He could smell its alien scent, something like hot metal and deep forests. Instead of fear, Haiyan Wu felt his body responding in ways that surprised him. His breathing became deeper and more controlled. His muscles relaxed into a state of ready tension, like a coiled spring. His senses sharpened until he could hear Jin-A's rapid heartbeat, smell the fierce sweat of the other students, and feel the tiny vibrations the stalker's footsteps made through the floor. The creature circled him slowly, like a cat investigating something new. Haiyan Wu turned with it, keeping eye contact, never showing his back. This wasn't the behavior of prey. Prey animals ran or froze. This was the behavior of another predator, calm and confident in its own space. "Remarkable," Professor Velteran breathed, her voice filled with wonder. "Look at his posture, his movement patterns. He's not displaying prey behaviors at all." Tae Min, who was pressed against the far wall with his colorful feathers puffed up in terror, called out shakily, "What's wrong with him? Why isn't he afraid?" But Wu Jin, the human psychology student, was taking notes even in the middle of the crisis. "He is afraid," Wu Jin said quietly. "Look at his pupils. They're dilated. His breathing is controlled, but deeper than normal. But fear isn't making him run. It's making him more focused." The stalker completed its circle and stopped in front of Haiyan Wu again. It made that low rumbling sound once more, but this time it sounded almost conversational, like it was trying to communicate something. Haiyan Wu felt a strange urge to respond. Without thinking, he made a low sound in his throat, not quite a growl, but deeper than his normal voice. It was a sound he didn't even know he could make. The effect on the stalker was immediate. Its eyes widened slightly, and its head tilted in what looked like surprise. It rumbled again, longer this time, and Haiyan Wu found himself responding with another throat sound. "They single quotes docking?" Jin-A whispered in amazement. "Not talking," Professor Velteran corrected, her lights now pulsing with pure white excitement. "They're establishing dominance hierarchy, predator to predator communication." The security team finally burst through the classroom doors, wearing full combat armor and carrying energy weapons designed to stop dangerous creatures. But they stopped short when they saw the scene in front of them. The Catherian stalker, one of the most dangerous predators in known space, was sitting, not crouching ready to pounce, not preparing to attack, but sitting like a well-trained animal. And standing calmly in front of it was a young human who looked completely at ease. "Don't shoot," Professor Voran commanded quickly. "The situation is under control." "Professor, that creature could kill everyone in this room," the security chief said through his helmet speaker. "Yes, it could," she agreed, "but it won't." Haiyan Wu slowly extended his hand toward the stalker, palm down, fingers relaxed. It was the same gesture humans used to let strange dogs smell them, but something deeper was driving the action. Every cell in his body was singing with ancient recognition. The stalker leaned forward and sniffed his hand carefully. Its nostrils were large and complex, designed to gather detailed information about scents. After a long moment, it made a softer, rumbling sound and actually pressed its massive head against Haiyan Wu's palm. Several students gasped. Jin'ei made a sound like a small squeak of disbelief. "Impossible," Taemin breathed. "That creature should see him as either prey or a threat. It shouldn't be ... bonding with him." But Professor Voran understood what was happening. "Mr. Kim," she said carefully, "can you guide it back toward the containment area?" Haiyan Wu nodded slowly. He began walking backward toward the center of the room, where the broken energy barriers still stood. The stalker followed him willingly, like a massive, deadly pet. The security team kept their weapons trained on the creature, but they didn't interfere. They had never seen anything like this before. As they reached the containment area, Haiyan Wu stopped. The stalker sat down again, still watching him with those intelligent yellow eyes. Very carefully, Haiyan Wu pointed toward the open transport container. The predator looked at the container, then back at Haiyan Wu. It rumbled once more, a sound that somehow conveyed understanding and maybe even respect. Then it walked calmly into the container and lay down. The security chief quickly activated the emergency containment field, sealing the creature inside. Only then did the tension in the room begin to ease. Haiyan Wu stepped back from the container, and suddenly his legs felt weak. The strange clarity that had filled his mind during the encounter was fading, leaving him aware of just how dangerous the situation had been. Jin'ei was at his side immediately, her blue-gray skin pale with worry. "Are you all right? Your whole body chemistry changed during that encounter. Your scent, your posture, even the sound of your voice." "I'm fine," Haiyan Wu said, but his voice was shaky now. "I just ... I don't know what happened to me." "Professor." Voran approached them, her crystal body still pulsing with excited colors. "What happened, Mr. Kim, was that you displayed behaviors that this creature recognized. Catherian stalkers are pack hunters on their home world. They have complex social hierarchies based on dominance displays and mutual respect between alpha predators." "But I'm not a predator," Haiyan Wu protested weakly. The professor's lights shifted to a knowing amber color. "Aren't you? Your species didn't reach the top of Earth's food chain by gathering berries. You are persistence hunters, pack coordinators, tool users who brought down creatures much larger than yourselves. You are predators, Mr. Kim. You just forgot what that means." The security team was preparing to move the contained stalker back to its permanent holding facility. As they lifted the transport container, the creature inside made one last rumbling sound, directed clearly at Haiyan Wu without thinking. Haiyan Wu rumbled back, that same deep throat sound he had discovered during their encounter. The stalker seemed satisfied and settled down for transport. "How did you know to do that?" Wu Jin asked, approaching with his notepad still in hand. "Those weren't learned behaviors. You've never encountered anything like that creature before. I don't know, Haiyan Wu admitted. It just felt ... right. Like my body knew what to do, even when my mind didn't. As the security team left with their dangerous cargo, the remaining students began filing out of the classroom. Most of them gave Haiyan Wu a wide berth, their eyes filled with a new kind of wariness. They had seen something in him that they didn't understand, something that frightened them more than the escaped predator had Tae-Min paused near the door, his colorful feathers still slightly ruffled from fear. That thing could have killed all of us, he said quietly, but it listened to you. It obeyed you. I didn't make it obey anything, Haiyan Wu said. We just ... understood each other. That's what scares me, Tae-Min replied, and left without saying goodbye. Soon only Jin-A, Professor Velteran, and Haiyan Wu remained in the damaged classroom. The broken energy barriers sparked occasionally, filling the silence with small crackling sounds. You saved lives today, Jin-A said softly. If that creature had started hunting in here, many students would have died. Your calm behavior kept it from seeing us as prey. But Professor Velteran was studying Haiyan Wu with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. Tell me, Mr. Kim, she said, when you looked into that creature's eyes, what did you see? Haiyan Wu thought about the question carefully. I saw intelligence, purpose, and recognition, I think. Like it knew something about me that I didn't even know about myself. The professor's lights pulsed once, slowly, in what might have been. Approval or concern? Yes, she said quietly. I believe it did. The news of what happened in Professor Velteran's classroom spread through Vorthen Prime Academy like wildfire. By the next morning, every student knew about the human who had somehow controlled a Cytherian stalker with nothing but eye contact. And strange throat sounds. Haiyan Wu found his breakfast table completely empty when he sat down in the cafeteria. Students who had once been friendly now watched him from across the room, whispering to each other in their various languages. He could feel their stares like physical weights. It's getting worse, Daeho said, sliding his tray onto the table across from Haiyan Wu. 3 of my engineering classmates asked me if humans eat other intelligent species. What did you tell them? The truth. That we don't. But I don't think they believed me. Daeho looked around the cafeteria nervously. Maybe we should have lied about what Earth was like, made it sound more peaceful. Before Haiyan Wu could respond, Jin-A approached their table hesitantly. She was one of the few students who still seemed willing to be near him. May I sit with you? She asked politely. Of course, Haiyan Wu said, grateful for any friendly contact. Jin-A settled into her chair, but Haiyan Wu noticed she kept more distance than usual. I wanted to ask you about yesterday, she said carefully. When you were facing the stalker, your entire biochemical signature changed. Your scent became ... sharper, more focused. It reminded me of the hunting pheromones that aquatic predators. On my world release, I wasn't hunting anything, Haiyan Wu protested ... No, but your body was preparing for it, wasn't it? Your muscles, your senses, your breathing, everything shifted into what I can only call a hunting mode. Daeho looked uncomfortable with the conversation. Maybe we should talk about something else. But Jin-E continued, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. I've been reading about human evolution since yesterday. Did you know that your species used to hunt animals by chasing them until they collapsed from exhaustion? You would follow prey for days, never stopping, never giving up, until they simply couldn't run anymore. That was thousands of years ago. Haiyan Wu said weakly, was it? Or do you still have those instincts? Jin-A studied his face carefully. When you see someone running, do you ever feel an urge to chase them? The question hit Haiyan Wu like a physical blow because the answer was yes. He had noticed it during his time at the academy, when students hurried past him in the hallways, when someone ran to catch a transport, when the stalker incident had caused everyone to flee in panic. There was always a small voice in the back of his mind that wanted to follow, to pursue. "I would never hurt anyone," he said quietly. "I know," Janae replied gently. "But the instincts are still there, aren't they?" Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Dean Morthek, the Academy's chief administrator. The dean was a tall, thin being that looked like a walking tree, with bark-like skin and leaves growing from his head instead of hair. "Mr. Kim," the dean said in his creaking voice, "please come with me. There are some people who would like to speak with you." Hyun Woo followed the dean through the Academy's crystal corridors to an office he had never seen before. Inside, Professor Velteran was waiting along with a woman he didn't recognize. Another human, middle-aged with kind eyes and graying hair. "Hyun Woo," Professor Velteran said, her crystal body pulsing with calm blue light. "This is Dr. So Young. Kong, she's a behavioral psychologist who specializes in predator psychology. I asked her to come after reviewing the security footage of yesterday's incident." Dr. Kong smiled warmly and gestured for Hyun Woo to sit down. "I'm here to help, not to judge," she said in Korean, which made Hyun Woo relax slightly. "Can you tell me what you were thinking during the encounter with the stalker?" "I wasn't really thinking," Hyun Woo admitted. "It was more like instinct took over. I knew I shouldn't run or show fear, and I knew that the creature wasn't hunting at that moment." "How did you know it wasn't hunting?" Hyun Woo struggled to find the words. "Its body language was wrong for hunting. It was curious, not aggressive. When predators hunt, they focus everything on their prey. This one was ... exploring, testing." Dr. Kong nodded and made notes on her tablet. "You recognized predator behavior patterns that the other students missed completely. That's not something you could have learned from books. What are you saying?" Hyun Woo asked, though he was afraid he already knew. Professor Valteran answered instead. "We're saying that your species carries genetic memories of predator behavior. When faced with another apex predator, those memories activated. But humans aren't really predators anymore," Hyun Woo protested. "We're civilized. We have laws and morals. And you also have the highest rate of persistence, the most advanced pack coordination, and the most sophisticated tool use of any species." "In the known galaxy," Dr. Kang interrupted gently, "civilization doesn't erase millions of years of evolution, Hyun Woo. It just teaches you when to use those instincts and when to suppress them." Dean Morthek spoke up from where he stood by the window. "The other students are frightened. Many parents are calling to ask if their children are safe with humans on campus." "Are we dangerous?" Hyun Woo asked directly. Dr. Kong considered the question seriously. "Every species can be dangerous under the right circumstances, but humans ... humans are different. You're not just predators. You're pack predators. You bond with your group and protect them fiercely. The same instincts that make you dangerous to threats make you incredibly loyal to friends. The problem," Professor Velteran added, "is that most species here evolved from prey animals. They have deep genetic fears of predators. Seeing you interact with the stalker as an equal rather than as prey triggered every survival instinct." "They have." Hyun Woo felt a wave of sadness wash over him. "So I can never really fit in here. I'll always be the scary predator to them." "Not necessarily," Dr. Kong said thoughtfully, "but it will require understanding on both sides. The other students need to learn that human predator instincts come with equally strong protective instincts. And you need to learn to recognize when your behavior is triggering their fears." Over the next few days, the situation got worse before it got better. 2 students requested room transfers after learning their neighbors were human. A group of parents demanded that all human students be expelled. Some professors began treating Haiyan Wu and the other humans differently, either with fear or with excessive caution. But there were also unexpected allies. Wu Jin started a study group focused on interspecies psychology, using the human students as case studies. Professor Valteran redesigned her entire curriculum to include human predator psychology as a major component. Most surprisingly, Jin continued to seek out Haiyan Wu's company. During one of their study sessions, she explained, "Why, my species evolved as prey animals," she said as they sat in the library's quiet reading area. "Everything in our genetics tells us to fear predators. But intelligence evolved too. And my intelligence tells me that you saved lives that day. The stalker could have killed dozens of students before security arrived. Instead, you kept it calm. But you're still afraid of me sometimes," Haiyan Wu observed. "I can see it in how you move when I stand up quickly, or when I focus too intensely on something." Jin nodded honestly. "Yes, I am, but fear isn't always bad. Fear keeps prey species alive. The important thing is not letting fear control my actions or my friendships." Their conversation was interrupted by emergency alarms echoing through the academy. Red lights flashed, and the automated announcement system activated. Security alert. Hostile forces detected approaching the academy. All students report to designated safe areas immediately. Through the library's crystal windows, they could see ships descending from the sky, sleek, dark vessels that didn't match any peaceful species designs. Energy weapons began firing at the Academy's defensive barriers. "Pirates," Jin whispered in terror. "We need to hide." But Haiyan Wu was already moving, his body shifting into that same focused state he had shown during the stalker incident. His eyes scanned the room, noting exits, cover positions, and potential weapons. "No," he said, his voice taking on a commanding tone that Jin had never heard before. "We need to get the younger students to safety." As chaos erupted around them, and alien students panicked, just as they had during the classroom incident, Haiyan Wu felt his ancient instincts awakening again. But this time, they weren't focused on a single predator. This time, his pack was threatened. The pirate attack on Vorthan Prime Academy revealed something that changed everything. While alien students ran in panic or froze in terror, the 12 human exchange students moved with purpose and coordination that shocked everyone who witnessed it. They didn't plan it or discuss it. It just happened. Like a flock of birds turning in perfect unison. Haiyan Wu found himself naturally taking charge of the library evacuation. His voice carried clearly over the sounds of alarms and distant explosions as he directed terrified students toward the safest exit routes. "Jin, take the smaller students through the lower corridor," he called out, his mind automatically assessing each person's capabilities. "Tae Min, your species can fly. Scout ahead and warn us about blocked passages." But it was what happened next that truly amazed the alien students. When they reached the main hallway, they found a group of first-year students, barely adults by their species standards, trapped by debris from a damaged ceiling. The youngsters were crying in fear, their various alien languages mixing into a chorus of terror. Without hesitation, Haiyan Wu and 2 other humans began moving the heavy crystal chunks that blocked the passage. Dae-ho appeared from another corridor, carrying an injured Zenthari student who was too hurt to walk. Wu Jin emerged from the side room with a group of scared youngsters following him like he was their protective parent. "How are they doing this?" Tae Min asked Jin as they watched the humans work. "They don't even know each other well, but they're moving like a coordinated unit." Jin was watching with professional fascination despite her fear. "Pack behavior," she said quietly. "When their group is threatened, human individuals merge into something larger. Look at their body language. They're not 12 separate students anymore. They're parts of a single hunting pack. But this pack wasn't hunting. It was protecting. The humans formed a moving shield around the alien students, guiding them through the damaged academy toward the emergency shelters. When pirate soldiers broke through the outer defenses and entered the building, the humans positioned themselves between the invaders and their alien classmates without being asked. Professor Voran watched from the shelter's monitoring station as security cameras showed the evacuation. Her crystal body pulsed with amazed white light as she observed behaviors she had only read about in theoretical texts. Dean Morthic, she called to the administrator. Are you seeing this? The tree-like. Dean's leaves rustled with worry as he watched the screens. The human students are putting themselves in danger to protect the others. Exactly. This is what Dr. Kong tried to explain. Human predator instincts include powerful protective behaviors toward pack members. And right now, those human students have decided that everyone at this academy is part of their pack. On the screens, they watched Haiyan Wu lead a group of students through a corridor where pirates had been moments before. His movements were fluid and careful, every sense alert for danger. When he motioned for the others to stop and hide, they obeyed instantly, even students who had been afraid of him. Just days before, the attack lasted only 20 minutes before Academy security and local defense forces drove off the pirates. But those 20 minutes changed how everyone viewed the human students in the aftermath. As students gathered in the main hall for medical checks and trauma counseling, Jin'ei found herself sitting next to Haiyan Wu again. But this time, she wasn't maintaining careful distance. You protected us, she said simply. Of course I did, Haiyan Wu replied, seeming surprised that she would mention it. You're part of my our group now. Is that how you see us? As your pack? Haiyan Wu thought about the question seriously. During the attack, he had felt something he had never experienced before, a fierce, overwhelming need to protect not just his fellow humans, but every student in the academy. Jin'ei with her gentle curiosity, Taemin with his intellectual pride, even the first-year students whose names he didn't know. I guess I do, he admitted. Is that wrong? Jin'ei's large dark eyes were thoughtful. A week ago, it would have terrified. Me, the idea that a predator species saw me as part of their territory or their property. But now, she paused, choosing her words carefully. Now I understand that being part of a human's pack isn't about being owned. It's about being protected. Taemin approached them, his colorful feathers no longer puffed up in fear. I owe you an apology, he said to Haiyan Wu, and probably my life. When those pirates broke in, I froze completely. My species' fear response made me useless. But you kept thinking, kept moving, kept protecting everyone. You did your part, Haiyan Wu said. You scouted ahead and warned us about blocked passages. Different species have different strengths. Yes, but some strengths are more useful in a crisis, Taemin admitted. I've been arrogant, thinking that intellectual superiority was the only thing that mattered. Today I learned that sometimes you need someone who can face danger without freezing. Over the following weeks, the atmosphere at the academy changed dramatically. Students who had once avoided the humans now sought them out. Not because they were no longer afraid. The fear was still there, built into their genetic code. But now they understood that the same traits that made humans frightening also made them powerful protectors. Professor Voran redesigned her entire predator psychology curriculum around the human students. Instead of just studying predators as threats to be avoided, she began teaching about the complex social structures that apex predators created. Predators aren't just killers, she explained to her new class, which was much larger than before. Many students had signed up specifically to understand human behavior. The most successful predators are those who can form strong social bonds. They protect their pack, their territory, and their resources. Mr. Kim, Can you explain pack loyalty from a human perspective? Haiyan Wu, who had once been embarrassed by discussions of human predator instincts, now spoke confidently. Pack loyalty means that an attack on one member is an attack on all members. It means you share resources and risks equally. It means you never abandon someone who can't keep up. Jin'ei raised her hand. Is that why humans will risk their lives for strangers? Even people they've never met? Sometimes, Haiyan Wu agreed. If someone is part of our larger pack, our community, our species, or just someone we've decided to protect, then protecting them becomes automatic. After class, Jin'ei walked with Haiyan Wu toward the cafeteria. The meal hall was no longer empty around the human students. Mixed groups sat together, alien and human students sharing tables and conversations. I have a confession, Jin'ei said as they found seats. I still get nervous sometimes when you move quickly, or when your voice changes to that commanding tone you used during the attack. I know, Haiyan Wu said. I can see it in your body language. Does it bother you? Not anymore. Fear is just information. It tells me you're dangerous. But dangerous isn't the same as harmful. A storm is dangerous, but you don't hate the storm for being what it is. You just learn to understand it. Daiho joined them, carrying a tray of food that had been modified for human dietary needs. 3 more species have applied to have their students join the exchange program, he announced happily. Apparently, word has spread about humans being good to have around during emergencies. Are you comfortable with that? Jin'ei asked Haiyan Wu. Being seen as protectors instead of threats? Haiyan Wu considered the question. A few months ago, he had come to the academy hoping to study alien life while hiding his own predatory nature. Now he was teaching classes about human pack behavior and helping design emergency protocols based on human instincts. It feels right, he said finally. I spent so much time trying to suppress what I am that I never considered what I could do with it. Humans aren't just predators. We're cooperative predators. We evolved to work together to protect our communities. Tae Min appeared at their table, his meal tray in his wing hands. May I join you? He asked politely. Always, Haiyan Wu replied, and meant it as Tae Min settled into his chair. He looked around the diverse group with satisfaction. You know, he said thoughtfully, I used to think intelligence was about pure logic and calculation. But watching you during the attack taught me something. Intelligence is also about knowing when to trust your instincts, when to take charge, and when to put the group's needs before your own safety. Different types of intelligence for different situations. Jin'ei agreed. My species' intelligence focuses on emotional understanding and social harmony. Tae Min's people excel at mathematics and pattern recognition. Humans have strategic intelligence, the ability to coordinate complex group actions under pressure. Professor. Velteran approached their table, her crystal body glowing with pleased yellow light. Mr. Kim, I wanted to let you know that the Galactic Educational Consortium has asked me to develop a new course specifically about human behavioral psychology. They want to understand how your species can be both protective and predatory. Will you be teaching it? Haiyan Wu asked. We'll be teaching it together, she corrected. I can provide the theoretical framework, but you can provide the insights that only come from actually being human. As they finished their meal and prepared to leave for afternoon classes, Jin'ei had one final question. Haiyan Wu, that day with the Catherian stalker when you looked into its eyes.